Hello and welcome to the 14th edition of the Two Black and Two Nerdy podcast. I'm your host, Chris.
I'm your co-host, Chris.
And today, we're going to talk about a variety of topics. I think we're going to start with some TV shows and movies, then we'll get into some other topics. So, first, Luke Cage had a second season, came out last week of the recording of this. Chris, what did you think?
I liked the second season. I think it was better in the first in the sense that as a season, it built on things, and then it didn't just have a great first half and then drop off.
Yeah.
I liked Bushmaster as a villain. I think Mariah as a villain was good, except for her interaction with Shades. Everything about that is just weird.
That whole thing was just
really, really weird, and I sort of cringed every time they interacted.
Yeah. No, I feel like we can go into spoilers. So the Shades and Comanche stuff, that was like, oh. Yeah. I didn't understand it until Mariah literally said it. It's like, oh, were you gay for the stay? And I was like, oh, I guess. I was like, oh, they were prison husbands. I didn't know I didn't realize they were going that route. I was just like, oh, they're just good friends.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, yeah, that probably happened. Then Mariah said, and I was like, yep, all right.
Yeah, I did enjoy Bushmaster. According to Jamaicans, all the Jamaican accents were bad. Which they said that there are some Africans that said that about Black Panther. That I think someone like ranked the accents from good to bad, and they said that Lupita's was the best and Forest Whitaker's was the worst in Black Panther.
Yeah, but I think it's sort of hard for at least like Black Panther because they tried to mix a whole bunch of accents together. And I mean, granted, Lupita, that is, she has a natural Kenyan accent. So, I mean, I would imagine hers would be the best. It would be a shame if hers wasn't the best.
Yeah, it would be.
But yeah, so Luke Cage, Danny was a lot better.
He was a lot better. Like I compared him to like Aang from Avatar. Mm-hmm. Like he was just a lot more like zen and chill. Helped out Luke, taught him something. The fight scene in the warehouse was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Didn't Luke throw him at one point? Yeah. That
was pretty cool.
That was cool. And then Patty Cake?
Yeah. It gave me hope for Iron Fist Season 2 until I remembered, oh wait, Luke Cage writers wrote this.
Yeah. Well, Misty Knight's going to be in Iron Fist Season 2.
Yeah. Are they finally going to get together? Well, I shouldn't say finally. Are they going to get together, do you think?
Like, I don't know. Well, the trend of every season, I guarantee Danny and Colleen are going to break up. Mm-hmm. Because I've noticed a trend with all the Season 2 of all the shows that the Season 2 is like where their lives just fall apart. Yeah. Like Daredevil Season 2, he lost Nelson and Murdoch. He's like weird with Foggy and doesn't talk to Karen Page anymore.
Elektra died.
And Jessica Jones Season 2, which I know you didn't see it, did you?
No.
So Jessica and Trish like aren't like friends anymore because Trish killed Jessica's mom. Mm-hmm. And Malcolm left them too, and he works for Hogarth now. So like every season, these heroes like their lives falling apart. Luke and Claire broke up, which apparently Rosario Dawson is just done. Like apparently she's been in a lot of stuff.
Right, and she's like the one thing that connects them all. So
yeah, and they haven't. It was weird because like in the first season of Iron Fist, they like teased they're like, oh, Rosario Dawson is like gonna learn how to fight, and then Defender they just dropped that like completely. It's like no, she's just a night nurse again. So I have a feeling that Rosario Dawson is just like, listen, if you're not gonna do anything interesting with my character, I can dip out because after that second episode, she was gone.
Right, and plus Luke and Claire aren't really meant. Well, if they follow the comics, they're not meant to be together. It's going to be Luke and Jessica, which
I don't even know if they're. See, I don't know how long they have stuff planned out.
I don't even know if they know what they're doing.
I don't think they do because at this point, they clearly they're already filming Jessica Jones Season 3 because they're stepping up because it used to be 2 shows a year, mm-hmm. and this year is going to be like. It's going to be like 4 because Daredevil's coming out this year again, Season 3, and then there was a Ask Me Anything with Jeff Loeb, mm-hmm. and he said Iron Fist Season 3 should come out this year, but they don't know when. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to do Punisher after that. They're not doing Defenders again, probably because they probably didn't get enough return on the investment. You know what I mean? So they're probably just going to do, which I'm fine if they just do solo shows with cameos. Because one thing I did like about the season of Luke Cage too, like Foggy was in it for an episode, Danny was in it, Colleen was in it, so you at least felt like it took place like post Defenders. Right. The world felt very interconnected, and the Italian, the gangster, the one at the end that Luke told to stay out of Harlem, she's going to be in Daredevil season 3. Yeah. So they've been kind of. They've been trying to make it seem like more of a world, and that and the lawyer, the evil lawyer that Mariah and Shades had, he works for Fist too, so he'll probably be in Daredevil at some point.
Which makes me think, and this is a major spoiler for Luke Cage season 3 or season 2, so if you don't want to hear it, then you should skip ahead.
I already gave a warning, but yeah,
about a minute or so. Luke Cage being the boss of crime in Harlem, and then having the same lawyer as Wilson Fisk might something's going to happen between the two, and
I don't know. Well, I don't know if it means if Luke's like the boss of Harlem, if that forces all the crime to Hell's Kitchen.
Right.
I wonder if they're going to do something like that. I have a feeling in Daredevil season 3 I wonder if we'll see a Luke Cage character show up at some point. So I mean, but in general, I like the season. It was definitely better than Jessica Jones season 2 because I was just weird. Punisher, I feel like people were weird. I feel like nobody reviewed Punisher. Like it was weird. Like Punisher came out, and then like people moved on.
I mean, Punisher was sort of its own thing.
Yeah. But, like, even because, like, the people I know typically review, like, Marvel and Netflix stuff just skipped over Punisher. And I don't know if maybe because people are uncomfortable with, like, the gun violence and that kind of stuff, because of, like, the political climate. I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah, so, I mean, I enjoyed it. Do you have anything?
We've talked about this, but I didn't really like that Luke Cage ended up being the boss of the crime in Harlem. I just felt like that's just kind of a weird thing to go off of. Like, how do you build a season from that, unless you brought up a good point of Shadowlands, the Daredevil run where he's the head of hand, but then that means you have to bring everyone in
to fight him. Yeah,
and then that's essentially Defender season 2, which they say they have no plans
they say they have no plan. Yeah, because I just don't know where they're gonna go with it. Because Shadowland is story where pretty much Daredevil becomes a bad guy, and all the other vigilantes like Spider-Man and Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and I think like Hawkeye or Black Widow, I don't know, a decent amount of those superheroes like have to fight Daredevil pretty much. So I don't, again, with next season Luke Cage, I don't know what the master plan is, which in some ways, hey, it gives me an excuse to tune in, but I'm also like, okay, what are they doing with this?
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else. I liked the daughter.
Oh yeah.
She's fine.
Nightshade.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was from the comics at first, and I was like, oh.
Once I heard the name of the drug, I was just like, that sounds familiar. And then I googled it, and I was like, oh. And then they started talking about a daughter, and I was like, oh.
And I guess she's poised to replace. She's going to probably replace Mariah. Yeah, in some form, be the new villain.
Yeah, which was kind of a turn for her character, where she was like ultimately rejecting everything her mother was, and then she really learned what her mother was, and then she, spoiler, she kills her mother, and then she's like, now I'm her, and I was like,
I will say though, that scene between her and Mariah, when Mariah tells her like the truth of like her like origins, that was like, I was like, oh look, acting.
Yeah, I was just like, whew.
Yeah. Whew. And she was like,
felt that one in my chest.
Actually, she's a Stokes 2 times over. I was just like, dude, that's crazy. Yeah. So, I guess Shades is in jail. They'll probably use him. He'll probably be the person they talk to in prison when they need, like, because you know how shows do the thing where they capture the bad guy and the good guy has to go to them. Like, hey Shades, you know about this person? I thought they were gonna do that with Mariah, and she died. And I was like, oh well, all right. I guess Shades is your I don't even know what you would call them, but like inside, I don't know, like gangster consultant. I don't know what the.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. All right, so you want to move on to Incredibles 2?
Yep.
That's good.
I'm gonna go see it again in 5 hours.
Really?
Yep. I enjoyed it. I thought it was better than the first one.
Really?
In the sense that, because, you know, the job of a sequel is to build on everything the first one did and expand on it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of sequels fail at that. This one didn't. And while the first one was sort of a spy, superhero type mystery movie, this one was more of a family-oriented superhero film.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was curious to see what changes they would make, because like the first Incredibles came out like before like the MCU and like superheroes were as big as they are. So I'm like, okay, so what is Incredibles going to bring to the table? Going to bring, you know, is the Incredibles like going to change now that superhero stuff is a lot more mainstream? But it's still, I mean, if you watch the first one and this movie back to back, I mean, it's definitely the same tone.
Right.
You know, even like there's some social commentary in there. Like in the first one, it was all about like the dad, like he hated his job and that kind of stuff. In this one, it was more commentary about like, you know, the wife becoming the breadwinner and the husband having to stay at home and deal with the kids and that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed all of that stuff. Jack, you know, he didn't disappoint. I'm surprised that raccoon lasted in that fight as long as he did.
That was so great. That whole
sequence
portion of the movie was just great. Jack is that dude.
Yeah, I think the best sequences in the film. I like Mrs. Incredible when she has the chase scene on the motorcycle, and Jack fighting the raccoon was a really, really good sequence. Yeah, and I mean the jokes were good. They're all on point. I feel like out of all the kids, I feel like Dash didn't have as much to do in this one.
Yeah, he was just sort of there.
He was just there because, well, he's the middle child, so you know.
They're just there.
Well, you're the youngest in three brothers, so yeah.
And the middle child is just there. So I think it was a really good movie. I think they set it up where they could do their own Incredibles verse, and I mean, if Pixar attempted to do that with Cars, they could at least, you know, do this with a viable.
I'm disappointed we didn't see Frozone's wife. They say they just want to keep her as a voice, but I'm just like.
I mean, they said they had a character made,
a design
drawn for her in both the first one and this one. I think in the first one, it would have been because the whole purpose was on him, and then what was going on in the background. So having the camera switching to her would have been a change of pace. But in this one, she was only in it for literally like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still Samuel L. Jackson's wife, which makes it funnier.
It's like, you better be back ASAP.
Right. Yeah. So if they had a prolonged one, then yeah, this would have been the time.
Yeah.
Also, it would have been nice, like, if the kids actually went to the house and then we could meet her that way.
Yeah, well, because it's like, okay, so the first movie, you set up this joke, and I feel like in this one, they just kind of just do the same joke again.
Right.
I feel like they could have definitely just one-upped it.
I don't think they could.
They could have.
I think because of how people loved it, they're like, this is the best scene in all of Pixar. They're just
where's my super suit? Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Samuel L. Jackson and his is Alfred Woodard his wife?
I don't know who his wife is. I think it's Samuel Jackson's actual wife.
Yeah, no, it is, but
I don't know. It's not Alfred Woodard.
I'm gonna Google it.
Because I'm pretty sure Alfred Woodard's married to a white guy. Not just I don't know why. I think I heard that. I think I read that during an interview.
Richardson. Yeah, that's his wife. So,
that's his wife. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if those two like improvised most of that scene.
Probably. But yeah, I mean, Mrs. Incredible has some good fight scenes. Mm-hmm. She's definitely probably like the best superhero out of them because I thought it was funny the reason
she has the most utility.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that the reason they picked her is because she doesn't do as much collateral damage. Because like Mr. Incredible will break stuff and Frozone's just gonna leave ice everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think if I missed anything. What did you think about the new superheroes?
I think they had some cool powers. The old man was kind of weird.
The old man was weird.
Reflex. I like the villain was sort of like kind of obvious. You knew it wasn't gonna be. The only way it could have been the brother would have been if he was just trying to hype them up, give them a villain.
Yeah, well, because when I first saw them, I thought, well, okay, let's say, are they both evil? But then I was like, oh, it's just a sister, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Right. She's the one that builds everything, and he sells it. And I'm just like, yeah, that villain's not really selling anything at this point. So yeah,
I will say, like, but I think the problem is I don't think they could have one up Syndrome.
Mm-mm.
You know?
Syndrome was, and we'll get on this later, everything wrong with fan expectations.
Pretty much. I mean, Syndrome is essentially like an evil fanboy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And then the sister, I can't even remember her name. I can't remember the brother's name either. Was just, you know, the typical trope of, you know, I don't like heroes because heroes failed me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought it was good. What did you think of the short before Incredibles 2, Bow?
Oh, I almost cried. It was sad.
Our theater had such adverse reaction to that.
Really? When she ate the dumpling.
And so I'm going to see it with my friend today. I'm just going to be like watching her reaction as she, because like everybody was just like, well, the first question we were all asking, because it was a group of black people together, even though we did not know each other. Where did Dad go? We're all just like, where'd the dad go?
What's the whole thing? Well, the thing is, the whole thing was a metaphor.
Right.
The whole thing was a metaphor, because as soon as the dumpling comes alive, the dad just disappears.
Right.
So I was kind of like, okay, where is he?
Right. And so then, you know, she was raising on again. I was like, oh, she's babying him. He doesn't want to be baby. He wants to go hang out with his friends and everything like that. He wants to play sports. He get roughed up, things like that. And then to keep him from, well, because the first thing was, when her eyes lit up wide, it wasn't because he brought a girl home. It's because he brought a white girl home.
Yeah, that was funny. No, I thought that was funny.
And so then he did that, and so to keep him from leaving, she ate him. And I was just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, like, so I there was like some tweet that went viral about someone who didn't get it, and it was just like, I mean, at the end of the skit, it's a metaphor.
Right.
At the end of the day.
I explained it to my 14-year-old cousin. How old is she? Something like that. 14, 15, I think. And she was like, who even thinks about things even like that? I'm like, once you like leave for college and a little bit, you get older, you'll understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, I was like, if you've gone to school or if you're a parent and you've had your kids leave the nest, you'll understand that.
Right.
Immediately.
And then the credits of it where like the son couldn't do the like dumpling wrapping it, but the girl did it perfectly, and the mom was just like, oh yeah, and then there's a bond over that. I was just like, oh, that's touching.
Yeah, I did think it was fun. No, because I saw it with my sister. My sister, when he brought the white girl home, my sister was like, oh, he brought home a white girl. That's why she was mad. And I was just like, yeah. But it was interesting. But no, it was a good skit.
Yeah.
And some people are like, I paid to see The Incredibles too. Like, why is this here? And it's like, Pixar's a skit before every movie.
Right.
They've done that for the past 10 years?
No, I think even longer than that. I think even back in the day, like pretty much every time in the 2000s they've done it. But I don't think I've seen a Pixar movie in theater since maybe the first Incredibles or Finding Dory.
I haven't seen them in a while. I saw Finding Dory.
I didn't see that in theaters.
Yeah, I'm actually watching. Before you got over here, I was watching Coco on Netflix.
I have not watched that yet, even though everybody's telling me to do that. I'm just like, maybe I don't want to cry, guys. All right,
pretty good so far, you know.
So yeah, so when I saw the short beforehand, I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot they did this. And then I think it was weird though that, you know, and this is just something that movies have done recently, is where they'll have the actors come out and talk beforehand. And that, like, when we saw this before, it was just like, oh, this movie's gonna suck. Because I think the movies I remember doing it were like X-Men Apocalypse and some other movie that came out around the time, and they were just like, that's not a good sign. And then they did it, but then they did this in front of Incredibles too, where you had Helen Hunt, Samuel L. Jackson, Brad Bird, and I can't remember who plays Mr. Incredible, came out and spoke, and then you had the short, and I was just like, I should have probably flipped that.
Yeah,
that probably would have been better.
Yeah, because you get everyone hyped up, and they're like, "What is like, this?
Bow? What is this?" Or
Bow? I'm not sure. But I definitely. It was a good Pixar movie. Mm-hmm. It was definitely worth the wait.
Yep.
You think they'll do a 3?
Yeah. I think they will. They saw the money, and they're just like,
oh.
The mouse is just like, I want more.
Well, look, I still don't understand why we live in the world where Cars got 2 sequels and a spinoff. planes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
who thought that was a good idea?
Like, Cars, I'm going to be honest, the hierarchy of Pixar movies, Cars is probably my least favorite. Just because it's a fish out of water story, except they're cars.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, all the other stories were like Finding Nemo is a classic, you know.
Toy Story.
Toy Story 1 is a classic.
Toy Story 2 is a
Toy
classic.
Story 2. The Toy Story trilogy is pretty solid.
Now they're making a fourth.
Incredibles is a classic, obviously. People like WALL-E, Up, Ratatouille.
See, Ratatouille is rats in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Rats
in a kitchen.
In a kitchen. We already saw what one rat did against the whole of Europe 700 years ago. So, I mean...
Yeah. Ratatouille didn't do it for me. I'm trying to think. I know I'm missing quite a few. Because now that Disney does their own animated films, I'm starting to, like, conflate the two.
Yeah.
Like, Wreck-It Ralph 2 is not Pixar. I mean, Wreck-It Ralph is not Pixar. And, I'm trying to think. Yeah, but that, you know.
But I mean, all the money goes to the same place, right to Mickey Mouse's bank account.
Yeah, I feel like Wreck-It Ralph 2 is just honestly just a commercial for Disney. Look at what
really,
we own.
It really is.
I can't tell, like, because, like, from the first trailer for the first movie, you could tell what the plot was going to be about. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, Ralph, like, the villain in the video game wants to be a good guy, but he has to deal with the constraints of, like, the game he's in.
Right.
Versus this one, it's like, okay, they go to the internet. I'm trying to figure out, like, we need another trailer. Like, what is, like, the plot of this movie going to be?
It.
I guess, maybe.
And I'm okay with that.
Because otherwise, it's just like, oh, look, this is... Because otherwise, it's like, oh, look, we're in Disney World.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, and then Disney just bought Fox. That deal went through, and the DOJ approved it. But we can talk about that another time.
Have you seen the meme with Thanos, Mickey Mouse's Thanos with the gauntlet, and he takes Fox and puts it on the glove? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, it's like Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar, and then he just takes Fox and just puts it on there.
Right. Next thing you know, Disney is gonna buy like Verizon, and this is gonna be the Mind Zone. And it's just like we own it all.
We own everything. Yeah. All right. So before we get into Star Wars drama, I want to go through E3 really quick.
Okay.
Just because that E3 happened since we last recorded the podcast. Any games you're looking forward to or cool things
Spider-Man
and stuff?
on PS4. That my brother and I have been waiting that game for like 3 years. We're like, when that game comes out, we're buying a PS4. That promise still holds. This wasn't E3. This was, Nintendo's E3 that they do. But Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. I'm not really excited for those games, but I'm excited that this is like their test run for an RPG on the Switch.
On the Switch, like a 3D.
Yeah, Pokemon game on the Switch. So I'm looking forward to that. But I am excited for Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, Super Smash Brothers, they just laid it out. Like, they brought back every single character that's ever been in the Smash game.
And then added some
then added the Inkling and Ridley. Because Ridley's not too big anymore.
Right.
Because that was the excuse. People wanted Ridley in, I think, since Melee. And the excuse was always, well, he's too big. But they kept the size proportions and just made him smaller.
Right, and then the other...
He's like as big as Charizard.
Right, and the other thing, like, what they could have done is, with the 8-player Smash that came out last for the Wii U, like, those maps were huge.
Yeah, they were.
So, you don't want to make Ridley too big, but, now he's the size of Charizard, so it works. But I'm excited for that game. Halo 6, I'm always excited for another Halo game. We'll see what they do. It's been a long time.
Kingdom Hearts 3 finally got a release date.
Thank God. Been waiting to
it has to come out now though, because the singer that did like Simple and Clean, she made like a new song for it, and she was like, listen, if you guys don't release the game on time, because she has like because for the trailer they use like a shorter version.
Right.
She was like, if you guys don't release this game on time, I'll just release a full version of the song before the game comes out. But dude, that game looks beautiful.
It does, and I've been waiting for that game for about as long as The Incredibles 2.
They're doing Pixar stuff and Disney animated movie stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing Toy Story and Monsters, Inc., obviously. Tangled, Frozen, which, who saw that, Yeah. They're doing Wreck-It Ralph. I don't know if Wreck-It Ralph's a world or if he's just a summoning.
I would hope he would just be a summoning because unless you're
going
to make everything 8-bit.
Yeah.
The whole part of Wreck-It Ralph is literally what's going on in Kingdom Hearts 3. You're jumping from world to world. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, and but I'm glad they're using those franchises. Mm-hmm. I don't really want them to touch Star Wars or Marvel because I think that's just way too much.
Yeah.
Unless we get like Spider-Man of the Summoning or something.
Yeah,
I'll take Spider-Man of the Summoning.
I'll take Rocket. Because then it would be really funny having you interact with all the other Disney animals. They'd just be like, "Oh, cute raccoon." And he's like, "What? What's a raccoon?" Or no, interacting with the raccoon from Pocahontas.
He'd probably steal Sora's Keyblade, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to. When is the release date?
It's January, isn't it?
I think it's January. Yeah, they moved it again, but people are just happy that there's a date because before it was like winter 2018, and everyone's just like,
"That's very
stop lying." January 29th is worldwide, 25th is Japan, so.
So there's that. What else? Elder Scrolls 6. I was still hoping for a Skyrim sequel. I love that game so much. So I loved it more than Oblivion. I still play it every once in a while, but oh well. New Elder Scrolls game, it'll probably still be good.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else that like caught my attention. I'm blinking right now. There's a new Last of Us, right?
Yeah, Last of Us 2.
Last of Us 2, which I mean that first game's pretty much a movie.
Right.
People joked that The Last of Us was the best movie that came out that year.
Yep. And then it got made as a movie like 2 years later. Logan.
Pretty much. So yeah, you want to get in a Star Wars drama?
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right, because we got time. We're only 27 minutes in, so all right.
It's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, all right. So if you guys don't know, Solo came out a month ago? A month ago.
May, yeah.
Middle of May. Yeah. So Solo came out. Didn't do well at the box office at all. And there's been this rising resentment against the new Star Wars franchise. Pretty much, I would say, honestly, some of it started with Force Awakens, before Force Awakens came out. But the majority of people like Force Awakens for the most part.
Yeah, you saw it immediately start when Finn popped up as a black
stormtrooper.
Like, stormtroopers aren't black. And I'm like, where's your source material on this? The clones got phased out a while back, but even then they weren't white. And then, the stormtroopers were all human in the what is now non-canon because Palpatine was racist against anything that wasn't human, apparently, which is hilarious.
I'm not surprised.
But so they were human, so they weren't just white, they were black, and I guess whatever other races exist in the Star Wars universe. I guess Asian now because we have Rose. We didn't really see them before.
Yeah.
But so we had that, and so that outrage took over, and then the fact that Rey was, what's the term they call it? Mary Sue, is that it?
Yeah, Mary Sue. Mary Sue is pretty much someone in like fiction who is just powerful with no good explanation, no training. They just show up and it's like, oh, they can, they're stronger than everybody else. And some people feel like Rey didn't like earn. She didn't. There's no reason for her to be as strong as she is. Like, there hasn't been a good reason for it compared to someone like Luke who had to, like, train and that kind of stuff.
But, I mean, realistically, she didn't really have to be for... I mean, using the mind trick was cool. That, I can see you arguing, be like, well, there's no reason why she should have just been able to do that, but she tapped into the Force and she did it. Mm-hmm. The other one was her fighting Kylo Ren. Well, let's put that really into perspective. Kylo Ren just took a blaster bolt from a crossbow. He already got hit twice with a lightsaber by Finn. He's tired. And she already knew how to fight. Mm-hmm. So at least she had some chance of doing it. So, I mean, like, it made sense that it was a bit even. And then she tapped into the Force. The Force is the ultimate MacGuffin. Yeah.
But those are the things that started it. And then Last Jedi came out, and Last Jedi pretty much split the fandom. Like, there are people who love Last Jedi, think it's like a masterpiece. Almost like, it kind of reminds me of like something like Batman v Superman. Mm-hmm. But like, Last Jedi split the fandom, where there are people who think that it is a masterpiece of a movie, and it is great. And there are other people who think it's like the worst thing that Star Wars has ever made. And you know, there are certain things I understand, like there were certain things like Rey's origins and like Snoke that didn't really end up amounting to, I think, what people wanted them to be. But you know, so I can see why some people have issues with The Last Jedi. But that movie really got under people's skin.
Right. So there was a difference in the anger where Rian Johnson didn't pick up where J.J. Abrams left off, like all the things he threw up in the air for, like, you're waiting to come back down.
Yeah, J.J. just smacked him. He was just like, no, we're not doing that.
Right. And so then I can understand that anger, but the other thing is, people built up these fan expectations, these theories, and they were ultimately convinced that this was how it was going to happen. And then it didn't. And then they got pissed because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. And honestly, that was kind of the point of the movie, just what they talked about in the movie. And so, like, Rey wanted
disappointing expectations.
Right. And so you had all that, and now you have these fanboys, and it started in The Force Awakens as well, that have been harassing, for the most part, only the women.
Yeah.
In the new Star Wars.
Yeah,
trilogy.
the one was it Marie Tran? No.
I think it's Kelly Marie Tran.
Kelly Marie Tran.
So
she deleted her Instagram.
Right, she deleted hers. Daisy Ridley deleted hers back in like 2016.
Yeah.
They haven't really been attacking Boyega or Hamill. So I saw someone attack Frank Oz, and I was just like, how dare you? How dare you attack Yoda? And the thing is that people don't get is that the actors don't write the script.
Dude, they show up, they audition for a part, and half the time they don't even know what it's for or who it is. It'll be like, okay, you're playing like a warrior or something, and then later on you might go up in auditions, you find out, oh, it's a Star Wars character. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And then you get the job.
Right. And so you have that. I mean, granted, like, I didn't really like Rose's character all that much, but she does not deserve an inkling of what she's getting.
No,
because it's also not her fault. If she didn't do it, it would be someone else doing it.
Exactly.
So, so there's that. And so the toxicity of the Star Wars fandom has ramped up to an unimaginable degree for something that is not
I thought some of the Marvel stuff was really bad, especially like when it came to the comics. You know, because like Marvel's comics these past, well, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years have just been a mess, where, you know, there's a whole SJW and anti-SJW thing, but like this Star Wars stuff it's bad.
Right. And you also have some of those complaints as well about, you know, the SJW. They're just like, oh, look at all these women just popping up out of nowhere. I'm just like, I mean, they've always been here. You don't have any complaints about Leia, mostly probably because she was in a bikini for first half of 6. So, you know, like, you have that, and I think it was just, there's the toxicity of just fandom itself. There's the toxic masculinity of it. And then you have Solo, where you have this white male lead. There's no forced diversity on you. You have Woody Harrelson's character's girlfriend, wife, whatever they are to each other, who's black. You have Lando, played by Donald Glover,
who's a character from the originals,
right? Who people loved, and then that's about it. And then you had a robot, and there weren't even complaints about the robot, who was literally a social justice warrior for robots.
Yeah. And
there weren't even complaints about that. But you had your white male lead, a predominantly white cast, and yet it flopped.
The movie still flopped. It flopped. Well, Last Jedi made money. Mm-hmm. You know, not as Force Awakens made the most, I think. I think Force Awakens is top. It's I know, is it the highest grossing movie of all time?
No.
No?
No. after, even without adjusted for inflation, it's still Avatar.
There's still Avatar. Okay,
a good billion.
Because I know Infinity War and Black Panther were getting up there, but they didn't touch Force Awakens.
And then adjusted for inflation,
which I wouldn't have expected it to.
Yeah,
Star Wars has been around.
And it was the first Star Wars movie in 10 years, so people were just like, yeah, take all my money. I told them to take all my money.
Pretty much, but. Yeah, so Solo flopped, and now I think it's funny because it's like people who like desperately wanted a male lead, they didn't even go support their, you know what I mean?
Right. So like they gave you what you wanted,
and you didn't even support it.
Well, actually, I don't even know who wanted Solo. I didn't want Solo. I'm so surprised some people liked it.
Like my thing, I think honestly for Star Wars, for like future spinoffs, they really should just. I'm not even. I wouldn't say start from scratch, but they should just have something on the other side of the galaxy that has nothing to do with like the characters and the factions that we know.
I mean, like, so one of my problems with Solo was that you had great source material and you just sort of like either winked at it or just did away with it for something that wasn't even
like the expanded universe stuff, you mean?
Yeah, so like the heart of some of the things, like how Han and Chewie met the first time, when Han was in the Empire as a pilot, and he found Chewie, and Chewie was a slave, and he saw, he was like, this is the ugly side of the Empire. He freed Chewie, and that's why Chewie went with him, because he was bonded to him. He had that life debt. Here, it's just sort of like Chewie just sort of rolls with him because they escaped together. And, like, there was no heart there. And so, like, that's an issue. And then most of the characters were forgettable for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds. I mean, to me, it just sounds like Solo just was, because I didn't see it. It just sounds like it just didn't give people like the Star Wars magic that the other movies. Because even Rogue One. I mean, I enjoyed Rogue One, but Rogue One to me, it was mostly self-contained.
Right.
And then at the end is a little tease to Star Wars Episode 1, and you're like, you know, or Episode 4, I guess, the first Star Wars, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cute.
So, like, and you can do stories like that that are self-contained and, you know, reference other things in the main Star Wars universe. Like, you could do a Jedi Purge movie, you could do a Kenobi movie. Those are things people would want, and they can be their own thing. But when you try and tell stories that, like, don't really need to be told, like Han Solo, the name Solo was given to him by the Empire because you went by your last name, like your family's last name, and he's like, I don't have any people. And then the guy that was signing him up for the Empire's army was just like, Han Solo. Just like, no.
Yeah.
No, that just takes the coolness factor out of all of it. But it's just like, I guess Kathleen Kennedy might get fired after this Solo debacle, and I'm just like, I mean, for the most part, she hasn't done a terrible job.
No.
Done a rather good job.
I feel like it would be petty to fire over one movie.
Right.
Because, I'm sorry, dude, with, like, the toxic fandom, like, you have to understand that, like, no matter what you do, they're never going to be satisfied.
Right.
People are never going to be satisfied. You know, so, you know, when it comes to being a writer and being an artist, I mean, at the end of the day, you can have fan service. You can do stuff like, oh, they're going to love this. But at the end of the day, you got to write the story that you want.
Right.
And, you know, just be true to your vision.
Right. And I don't see you ever making this toxic fan base happy.
Nope.
Because they want the original trilogy, but, like, right afterwards. And you can't do that because, well, Carrie Fisher's dead.
Yep.
Harrison Ford doesn't want to really do it anymore.
Nope.
Mark Hamill would do it, but Mark Hamill's 60?
Yeah.
50s?
He should say the voice work.
Right. I mean, like, he did great in The Last Jedi. He portrayed everything well, but it's not like he can be doing flips and everything like that.
No, he can't.
So it's like you shouldn't be. You should be realistic in what you're expecting. But this leads us to the remake the Last Jedi campaign.
Yeah, so there's like this weird remake the Last Jedi campaign. Apparently someone raised some absurd amount of money.
It's about, last time I checked, it was $7 million, and that was earlier this
Someone
week.
raised $7 million. Was it from donations?
Yeah.
So they raised $7 million to remake the Last Jedi, and they want to work with Disney to do it. And I'm sitting here like, you have all that money. Why not just make your own movie?
Right. And so their goal is to raise $200 million, which is around what the Last Jedi cost to produce or to make. And I have several questions for them. The chief of them being, just notwithstanding, like, you're raising this money to remake a movie, but what would you do about Princess Leia, General Leia? Carrie Fisher is dead. What would you do?
I don't know.
Are you going to recast her?
I don't
Because
know.
you would be pissed if Disney did that in 9.
Yeah.
And so, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep her scenes? Some of the scenes that she had in there pissed you off. So what are you going to do?
It's just stupid.
It is.
It's just dumb.
And so you're just going to wipe out everything. What, you're going to make Luke go fight Snoke and have Rey fight Kylo? Or are you going to have Luke fight Kylo and then Kylo kill Luke? Because Snoke wasn't going to be anybody with a lightsaber. He was just going to be like the Emperor was in 6.
Yeah.
So,
it's stupid. It's just so stupid. And it's just
is.
like,
you can do a lot better things with your time and your money. And I want to know who gave them that money, because I don't care how much you hate The Last Jedi. There's no way Disney's going to be like, oh yeah, sure, go remake that.
well, because it's like, I will get that, because that scared me, because like, when you look at like hate comments and that kind of stuff, I always assume a portion of it, like a portion of those guys have to be like teenagers. They like, some comments, like even I get on YouTube, I'm like, this person has to be like 13. When you're like misspelling every other word and just throwing out every slur imaginable, that kind of stuff. But like, if people are donating to make this happen, like, okay, these have to be adults.
Right.
Like, these adult, like, you know, a teenager is not going to donate $1,000 to remake a movie campaign.
Right. They
like,
don't have that.
They don't have that kind of money. I'm like, so you mean these are, it's probably, well, I mean, it probably is just like grown men.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You
And
know,
I'm like,
you're
y'all don't
30,
got bills
40,
to pay.
50 years old, and you're donating hundreds and thousands of dollars to remake a movie that is not going to happen?
Like,
are you going to get that money back?
It's like, dude, it's like, you shouldn't be paying off debt, you know.
Right.
Paying off that mortgage, like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, you don't have to pay a mortgage if you live in your mom's basement.
And I know that you and your brother were talking about Syndrome from the first Incredibles is like the perfect representation of like a toxic fanboy.
Yeah, the Honest Trailers made that comparison, and it's just like, that's really accurate. He had built up all these hopes for what Mr. Incredible was going to be, and when he finally met Mr. Incredible rejected him, and then thus his idea of Mr. Incredible and then working with Mr. Incredible being Incredible was rejected. Sort of like how all these fanboys have these expectations of whatever it is, then those get rejected by the studio because it's not what they thought it was, and so they think they're alienating them, so then they become toxic, and then they reject everything and they lash out at people that don't deserve to be lashed out at.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, and another person that I think is like the toxic fanboy is Reverse Flash.
Yep.
Reverse Flash from Flash is the example of like a fanboy gone wrong, where he was like a fan of the Flash, and like he went from being a fan of the Flash to literally he was obsessed with them, so he wanted to be the Flash. And then doesn't he try to work with Barry at one point, and then Barry's like, dude, like, no.
Yeah.
And then doesn't he go to the future and he sees that he becomes the worst? Because they've changed the origin around a little bit.
Yeah, so he was like in the future, and then he came to the present, and then he went back to the future after being rejected by the Flash, and then he was like, oh, I become his worst enemy, and then he just like full on dives into that and kills Iris, and he gets killed. It's a whole lot of things.
But it's just, I mean, it's the same idea. It's just like loving something to the point where you even lose the idea of like what it's supposed to be, you know? And it's just a mess. And obviously with a lot of these guys, there's blatant sexism, blatant racism, you know, and people think that they just own these franchises. And I've seen that with Marvel over the past few years, and Star Wars is like that too.
it's gotten bad. Honestly, the remake The Last Jedi campaign is just utterly ridiculous.
I just can't
fathom people giving hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars to something that's never going to come to fruition. Are you ever going to get that money back? What happens to the money after Disney was just like,
well, it's like,
who do you think you are?
You can even like make your own like fan parody or something, or like people do that, but like to actually think you can remake the movie, it's like, what?
And then their whole process is like, so we're gonna have pretty much like thousands of writers like send us your ideas, we're gonna listen to you, the fans, and it's gonna be like, there's never going to be one unified vision, because you're going to have some people that are like, okay, take this portion of The Last Jedi because that was really cool, and other people are like, no, that's stupid, don't ever do that. And then you're going to be like, yeah, make Luke be able to fight like 18, Kylo Ren's people, and then people are like, no, have Rey do that, and then have Luke fight. No, and you're never going to agree on anything. You're never going to have a script written.
That's why I always like, the animated How It Should Have Ended on YouTube. Like, that's just, but like How It Should Have Ended is like funny,
right?
Where they usually poke holes in stories to say, well, they could have ended the story this way. Like they did one for like Black Panther, where it's like if T'Chaka had just taken Killmonger or not killed his dad in the beginning, none of that would have happened,
right? And so you have that, and so it's just ridiculous. And I honestly, like, if they wanted to do a fan version of that movie, or if they wanted to just do a fan version of Star Wars, none of them that are out there that are like 15, 20 minutes long would have a budget like that.
No.
So if you wanted to make your own quote-unquote original work of Star Wars and then, like, submit it to festivals, do you know how much you would win?
People do. Well, they do that. Like, I know Star Trek. There's been like people who've just done their own like Star Trek episodes, because Star Trek's super low budget.
Right.
People have like they've pulled together money and hired actors and just made their own little fan episodes of Star Trek, and there's some people like it,
Right.
And you can do that.
You got like $7 million. People would wish they had something like that. Like most of these people that are doing these fan fiction short films, or even just short films in general, only have budgets of like hundreds of dollars, or maybe up to $10,000.
Yeah, because your brother's a filmmaker.
Yeah. Like you put your own money into that, but you have people donating to your cause. You got $7 million. You do something that's not this, because there's no way Disney is giving you the rights to one of its things, because you're gonna hurt Disney's bottom line, and the mouse don't play that.
Thanos Mickey.
Yeah, you don't mess with the mouse's cheese. He's gonna snap his fingers, and the Disney police is gonna come get you.
But I like when they joke about the Disney snipers and the Marvel snipers.
No, they just place you in the It's a Small World Afterworld ride, and you think those are actual characters, but no, those are people snatched up by the Disney police, and they're just like stuck there.
That
like
world
Five Nights
is
at Freddy.
That ride still creeps me out.
It still creeps me out.
I went on it last year, and I went to Disneyland after a VidCon. I think did the Simpsons do a parody of it? I don't know. I think, like, really weird off topic. There was a game called Epic Mickey. It was a video game where you play as, like, Mickey Mouse, and you go, and, like, all the levels are, like, creepier versions of, like, all the theme parks. And, like, one of the bosses in that game, I remember, is, like, this robot that just, like, went insane because he had to listen to the Small, Small World song for, like, decades. I was like, that would make me go crazy, too.
Yeah. That's
So do you want to get into our, last topic?
Incel.
Yeah, so we're talking about toxicity, especially how it manifests online, and I guess this group of people, they've been around for a while, but I think they're starting to get some attention.
They have a name.
As of late, I guess they have a name called Incel. So I guess what an Incel is if you're a guy who desperately wants to get laid, or you desperately want to like date girls and that kind of stuff, and you're just constantly rejected and it never works out.
Yeah, so the term incel comes from the combining of the words
involuntary and celibate. Yeah.
And so the whole point is, the whole attitude behind it is, oh, I'm a nice guy, quote unquote, because
First of all, they're not. They're shy. That's people forget. Like the word "shy" exists. Like, oh, I'm a nice guy. Say, no, dude, you're shy.
Well, then there's like I guess a combination of there. So I remember before I found out what an incel was, my friend made a post and it said incel, but it was like sort of like in the title. It wasn't part of like the main like little picture that was drawn. So I was just like reading that situation. I didn't know what incel was, so my mind just like went over that word. So I was having a conversation with some women. I think it was maybe like 2 or 3, and we were talking about the situation of when you have shy men that either don't have the confidence to go talk to women or whoever they're interested in. But I think in this case we're just talking about women. And
it's mostly straight dudes.
Right, yeah. And so where it was, where like the position where I was talking about, I was like, yeah, you have like a segment of guys, I'm not going to say it's all of them, but you have a segment of guys where they don't have that confidence. They have to build it up. And so when they finally do build it up, say they go to talk to this one girl at wherever they are, and that girl has been approached by all these creepy dudes, or been approached by so many dudes that she's not interested in, and she's just been bothered and annoyed and thinks this is just one more like it. And so she sort of like, says no, but maybe a bit more harsh. That shoots his confidence down. That's not the situation with these incels, where you have these guys that think because they're nice, they are entitled to sex or to a relationship. I mean, granted, yeah, you should be a good person if you want to be in a relationship, but you're not entitled to.
You shouldn't be a good person because you expect a reward.
Right, you should be a good person because being a good person is the reward.
Yeah.
And so, you have that situation where, and then I found out what an incel was, and I was like, oh my god, I did not know what we were talking about.
Dude, it's been here dude, it's existed, man.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a term. Like, I knew those things happened, obviously, like, being in college, saw it a lot. But, like, I think it's honestly like the concept of a friend zone is where, like, the incel movement sort of birthed out.
It's like, yeah, well, it definitely did start out with the friend zone thing, and like everyone's made friend zone jokes before, and like there's this debate because I've had female friends who are like very much in like the like super pro feminism camp, and one thing they'll say is that like, oh, the friend zone doesn't actually exist, and and for me, I'm like, okay, there is a dynamic where a guy will there are certain routes to like talking to women. And some guys are very much straightforward, where they're like, hey, you wanna go out, you wanna do X, X, Y, and Z, straight to the point. Some people want to use the strategy of, oh, okay, if I meet a girl in some sort of environment, like a lot of times it happens in school.
Right.
School, college, whatever. Maybe she's a chem partner, whatever. I'll be friends with her first. I'll try to make friends with her and hang out with her. And then eventually, as we get to know each other, I'll ask her out. And like the phenomenon is like, you end up becoming friends. The guy is like in love with the girl and has like a huge crush, and the girl is not remotely interested in him in that way, like at all. You know what I'm saying? And I think that phenomenon, like, it definitely exists, but the way guys take it is that it's always the woman's fault. Right. It's the blame's always placed on her. Well, hey, I've hung out with you and I helped you move that one time and done all this stuff for you. Right, how come you don't love me? Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, if you're a guy, if you're seriously like crushing on somebody, either you, at the end of the day, dude, you got to make a move or not, Right. And if you're making a move, you have to take the risk that she might not want to hang out afterwards. She might not be cool with that. You have to let it go. So yeah. It's up to you to make that choice.
Exactly. And, building off of that, so, like, I'm always thinking, like, and I'm putting air quotes around, like, there are a couple different friend zones. Mm-hmm. There's the friend zone where it's like, there's the guy who approaches a girl or tries to get to know a girl, and his sole intention is just to have sex with her. And she's like, no, you're just a friend, I don't want to do that with you. And then he's like, oh, I've been friend zoned. That one, throw that away in the trash, because like, that is terrible.
You weren't trying to be someone's friend from the beginning,
right? You just wanted to be in her pants. Then you have the one you just described, where you have someone, like, they had a huge crush on someone, and then they became friends with them, and that friendship developed, and then they feel like, like, you should love me, why don't you love me? And so that one also bad. Then I feel like there's one where you legitimately get to know a person, and then a few months down the road, you're like, crap, I have feelings.
You're like, oh.
But then, like that's happened to me. But then I'm like,
me too.
The moment has passed. Missed the opportunity. Oh well. Or you take your shot. You see what happens. And sometimes it works out.
And sometimes it, because I've had situations where when I was in college, I had a crush on a coworker, but I knew her outside of work too. Like, we were in like a film club together and like all that kind of stuff. And at one point I asked her out and she was like, no. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I let it go.
And you move on with
and
life.
And at the end of the day, rejection hurts. You might be hurt, and you just have to fake it until you make it.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I asked her out on like a Friday, showed up at work on Monday. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? I was super, I tried to be as, like, quote unquote, as normal as possible. And there's always going to be some awkwardness with that kind of stuff.
Right.
But awkwardness is not the same as, like, oh, I hate you forever, I'm going to murder you. It's just like the crazy, insane, just like, it's just like, dude, you gotta let it go.
Right. And so when you have these incels who feel like they're entitled to sex or to a relationship because they're a nice person, then when they don't have it, then they go and blame the women. They're just like, oh, you're just interested in, douchebags and players and all that, and you don't want a nice guy. I mean, granted, that might be accurate because you can't necessarily tell a person's personality right away, but it's not their fault they're not into you.
Well, no, it's just sometimes people just aren't into you, and that's just a part of life that you just have to deal with. And certain things happen. Like, look, when you're young, like, people say, oh, young women are shallow. Look, everybody's shallow when they're young. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Middle school, high school, college, people are very shallow. Where, look, hey, there are gonna be women that date guys just because they look good.
Mm-hmm. There are gonna be guys that date women
just because they look good. They don't care about anything else. And then eventually, but the thing is, eventually, some of that is gonna fade away. People date for a while, they start getting their later 20s and their 30s, and then they realize, when you're young, those experiences teach you about, okay, what you actually want out of a person.
Right.
And you hope that the person you end up with, if you want to get married and that kind of stuff, is, like, your match personality-wise more than anything else. And sometimes it isn't. The divorce rate is high.
Right.
But that's ideally what you should kind of look for.
Right. And so and the reason why we're talking about this is a lot of the toxic fandom that we talk about, and it's rampant in the nerd culture. You have a bunch of incels there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so it's something that has to be addressed, and you got to call your boys out on it if you see it and they're doing it. And it's not like, and then I'm back on the subject of the friend zone. It's not like women can't be put in the friend zone.
Yeah,
like,
and it happens.
It happens.
But the thing is, like, I think culturally, women don't like complain about it as much.
Right.
I think men have created like the memification almost of like, oh, I've been friend zoned.
Yeah, and the societal norm is still right now for men to approach women and all that. So until that shifts to where it's like 50-50, or maybe it shifts to where women are the one asking everybody out, it's going to be a male problem.
And you have to understand the perspective of a lot of women too, where if you're a woman and I'm not going to like judge people, but if you're anywhere you're like reasonably attractive, dudes talk to women all the time. They talk to them at the grocery store. Anytime they go out, not even like to a bar or anything like that, they can be out anywhere and men are constantly approaching them. Mm-hmm. So you don't know if you're talking to someone, if you're like the 15th guy that day,
right?
If she might just be like, listen, like, leave me alone, whatever. Cause the thing about dudes is that no one approaches me in public. No one, you're a guy by yourself, no one cares.
Yeah.
The only time I think, I don't know if I don't know if I told you this story. There was one time I was in Aldi with my mom, and she was paying, at the register, and I was bagging the stuff and putting it in the cart. This older woman, she had to be at least in her mid-40s, goes up to my mom. She doesn't go up to me. She goes to my mom. She goes, "Excuse me, ma'am, is that your son?" And my mom kind of makes a face, and she like looks at me, and she's like, "Yeah." And the woman just goes, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but he is beautiful." It was so bizarre. She had to be at least 45. It was super. I was like super uncomfortable.
I was trying to put in her application for you to be her sugar baby.
I was just like, oh my god. And my mom looks at me and she makes a face like, we gotta go. And all I did, and the woman, I didn't know what to say, so all I did was just smile. And then I finished packing. I finished packing that cart, and we left. And mom was just like, "Why does some old cougar want to talk to my son?" I was like, "I don't know, mom. I don't know." But like as a guy, like when you're a guy, like that's like an event, because that doesn't happen. For women, they have to deal with, like, say if you're a woman and you're a waitress, you got to deal with old men talking to you all the time. You know.
I was just at Applebee's the other day, at I think Friday night, and so I was out there with my friend Charles, and there are these 4 girls that were sitting there, and so me and my friend were sitting, like 2 of us were sitting at the bar, and then there was a space because there was some other guy that was sitting there, and then it was the 4 girls, and then another guy on that side, and so we started talking to like the 2 girls that were closest to us. We're just having conversation, and so then the other guy, at least for the time I've been there for like 15 minutes, wasn't there. So I was like, oh. And when I looked back in my seat, someone had sat down, and I was like, oh, so can I sit here? They're like, oh yeah, sure. Come to find out, at the end of the night, maybe about an hour and a half later, the 2 guys that were with them were patrons from their restaurant. Mm-hmm. And so, like, one of the girls had, like, sort of invited them there, and, like, both guys were trying super hard. Like, yeah. I knew it was over one guy, which he got hit with a high five. I was just like, good game, buddy. You tried. And
yeah, high five is...
Yeah, you could tell by the body language, the guy was just, like, super into the girl, and the girl was, like, entertaining it, but she was not, like...
Yeah. And
I'm just like, why are you following someone from one restaurant to another restaurant? That's just kind of weird.
Yeah, also, if you're trying to friend zone somebody, if you have to do that,
hit them with a high five.
Hit them with a high, or if you're texting them,
call him buddy.
Buddy, that's what I'm gonna say. Buddy. Buddy is like, if I'm talking to a girl and I got a buddy, I'm just like, all right, well, mission failed.
Yeah, I think we've all been hit with that, buddy.
Oh my god. Oh, thanks, buddy. You're just like, oh well, all right.
All right, we're friends. All right.
All right.
Message received.
Yeah, but it's just, but yeah, no, but like, so certain things are just a part of life. Rejection is a part of life. You having a crush on someone and them not being into you, it's just a part of life. Like, if I have a son and my son deals with that, I'm like, look, it'll be all right, homie.
Yeah, men just need to learn how to take rejection. Everybody needs to learn how to take rejection.
You know,
men need to learn how to deal with those
emotions. And rejection, you know, is not just romantic. It can happen when you're applying to colleges. It can happen when you're job hunting. You know what I'm saying? You can't, and another thing I would say, that when you're super young, and this is something that I've done like repeatedly, and it screwed me over, is having like tunnel vision, where like you can only have a crush on one girl at one time, when you don't know, and you have no idea if they're into you or not, because you're just setting yourself up for.
You're putting your eggs
in one basket, and then it doesn't work out, and you're like, I've donated 4 months to courting you. What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. Just like, granted, if you are a person that can only be with one, or only like think about one person at a time, cool. But don't like put all your eggs in a basket. Put some of the eggs in there and just be like, you got to be content single. Cause
statistically, the chance of it not working out is higher.
Right.
It's just going to be, because, like I said, a lot of women, dude, they're going to be used to hundreds of guys talking to them a week.
A woman on for this part of the podcast.
Well, we might have a guest next time.
Yeah.
My Lanisha, I was on her podcast last time. I don't know. I'm thinking she wanted an anime themed podcast, but we'll see.
I mean, hey, anime is ripe with a whole bunch of crap. So
yeah. No, well, I'm thinking of. I have an idea for it, and we'll talk about it after. But
it that mean I can spend like 30 minutes talking about My Hero Academia? Because I can do that.
I have an idea, but we'll get to it. But I will say this too. With the whole incel community, I feel like it's super white. Like, I don't know if there are, like, a lot of black guys who identify as incels. I feel like we have, like, hoteps. Yeah. Oh, God. I feel like hoteps are, like... The incels of, like, the black community. Because they take some of that, like, because they're super misogynistic, where there's, like, oh, well, the black man's role is to dominate and control the black woman. And, a black man has to be with a black woman, and if that doesn't work out, how are we going to achieve liberation? And, Is
there a hotep intervention line? Because I feel like one of my friends needs that.
Dude, I see it, too. I see it.
And now we got to pull you back from the edge.
Yeah, because, like, the hotep community is it's something else. It is the definition of, like, pseudoscience and pseudo-intellectualism. Well, they'll take a strand of truth and then, like, twist it and go on some crazy...
We're going to get a whole bunch of negative comments and negative likes from the hotep community on this podcast.
Dude, I don't care.
We're like, hey, we'll get the views, though.
I don't care.
That's important. We'll get the views.
I like them. Have you seen the meme? I think it's a Skeletor, and it says the hotepery.
Yes.
Because they'll just be like... They
believe the wildest things.
The wildest things, like, I was watching one person, and he was talking about how black women didn't menstruate until we encounter white people, and I'm just like,
first thing that pops into my mind.
And I'm just sitting here like, where I'm just sitting here like, how does that make any sense? Like, it's not like black people are like a different like species of being compared to white people. It's not like Neanderthals and like Homo sapiens. It's like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, we're all Homo sapiens.
And but I definitely see like some hotep ideas of thinking like rising in some of my feeds, and I'm just like, what are y'all doing? Because like even like with some of like the immigrant stuff that's going on right now, there are some like black people who are like anti-immigrant.
Yeah, because and they're just like, if they're not for us, so why should we be for them? And it's just like,
and hey, the immigrants are taking jobs away from us, and it's like and it's sitting here like, you think that by like, you think that, oh, if we magically kick all the Mexicans out of the country, all of a sudden black people are going to start getting higher wages and they're going to fix our schools and fix our neighborhoods and,
And honestly, for the whole immigration thing, it's like the immigrants aren't taking your jobs. The corporations are, because they're the one giving them out. And they're only giving them out to the immigrants because they're going to be hired cheaper and they can pay them under the table because they're just going to give them cash so they don't have to get
capitalism.
And then they don't... Right. So it's capitalism that's your enemy.
Capitalism.
Not immigration. Because even if you did get that job, guess what? You're not making that much.
Yeah, that's a lot of my Twitter feed has been like that lately, where I just like, yeah, but it's just, but yeah, I see that line of thinking, and then like they tie like, they're like all supposed to be like black liberation and whatnot, but they don't really care about black people. They care about straight black men and then the women that are cool with whatever they're doing. Like their form of like black liberation doesn't include like the LGBT community. It doesn't include women if they go against anything they say. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't include.
It doesn't even include all straight black men.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, if you're not hoteppy enough or you're whatever.
Yeah, honestly, they'll kick out Christians. They'll kick out Muslims. They're just like,
you're in an interracial relationship. You gotta go. Out. And it's just like it's just a mess. But I see some like hoteppy ideas, like on hoteppy, just like showing up, and I'm just like, this is just stupid. The only good thing about hoteps is that I feel like they don't really have any political power whatsoever. Yet. Yeah. But yeah, no, but I'll see people retweet. Like, I don't know if you've heard of like, there's like a guy named like Tariq Nasheed.
The name sounds
familiar. He gets retweeted a lot because he'll say things about like race that are like, oh, okay, I could agree with that statement. But then he'll mix it together with a whole bunch of other like toxic, like just like BS. And once I realized like who he was, I'm like, oh, I can't retweet you. The whole teppery. All right, Chris, do you have anything else?
No,
we're a little short. We're like an hour 9 minutes right now, so it's not too bad.
I mean, if we really want to dive into politics, let's not do that. Save that for another podcast.
Not right now.
We'll save that for the midterms podcast.
Oh my god.
Let's podcast live from a midterm quote.
Dude, Blue Wave.
Oh, we'll see about that.
We'll see.
And
next,
Trump get his wall to block the blue wave.
Our next podcast, we should have a guest on. If everything works out.
The date is to be determined because I got a niece on the way sometime next.
Yeah,
month.
Chris has got a niece on the way, so we're aiming for end of July, beginning of August time. But
and I'm also gone every weekend in August.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for listening.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Chris.
I'm Chris. Hit that like button.
Yeah, and this has been the Two Black Two Nerdy podcast. And we'll see you all later.